What's up, everybody? Chris here from Big Sports News, back at it again with another video. Today I'm going to be bringing you guys a quick recap as to what happened during today's matches during day 3 of the Stage 5 Major. We had a crazy one, as well as what you guys can expect going into today's matches your time, that of course being day 4 of the Stage 5 Major. Now, for the sake of time, I'm not going to do any map stats. I'm just going to look at score lines and talk briefly about them, and then look at the series stats overall. I don't want to make this video too long. I respect your time, and I appreciate everybody who watches these videos, and I wouldn't want to waste any time going over really unnecessary information. So looking at our first series of the day, you guys can see that I actually predicted this one correctly. I said 3-1 for the Thieves, and I did say that I thought that realistically they'd take maybe a map 3, but I wasn't sure. Possibly a map 2, depending on how they look there. But, you know, they just couldn't pull it together here. Despite a really strong effort from Hydra, he had a 1.54. He was plus 36 in the series. Subliners just couldn't pull it out here. And, you know, it was really what I expected. They hadn't really had too difficult of a schedule in the major thus far, and it really showed today. They played a really well composed LA Thieves team, and that was the difference here. Now, of course, looking at map 1, of course, being Checkmate Hardpoint, this one was really exciting. It went down to the last rotation on P2. LA Thieves just closed it out really well, and they played very smart. So it was 250 to 234. Super exciting game. Sorry, just had my light fall. And it was really one to watch if you haven't seen it. Super, super tight series all the way through up until the control. But this series was one of the best of the weekend, without a doubt. A weekend that's been filled with incredible matches. Great way to start off our return to fans in the arena, too. Like, every map was down the wire. Second map, of course, that being Search and Destroy on Standoff, was around 11. This one was really exciting. Hydra went 14 and 7. That was a really standout performance. Super notable to mention, obviously. 14 and 7 for the L. That's tough to deal with. Then on the game 3 control, this being Raid Control, Subliners won this. Pretty dominant KDs across the board. 1.2s for Diamond, Mac, and Hydra, and then Ace went even. And then on the Thieves side, the only player positive was Slasher. And then in the game 4 hardpoint on APOC, I wasn't expecting the Thieves to win this. They haven't really been a very strong APOC team, but honestly, this is basically a pickup team for the Subliners playing with their substitute. So it's to be expected that their best maps aren't necessarily going to be easy wins or wins at all. Hydra had a 1.7 and ASIM had a 1.38 for the L. That's tough, bro. They almost brought it back, and it was just a heartbreaker. Now on the other side, Slasher had a 1.47. He was in his bag this entire series. He was the only player on LA Thieves to go positive, so that's an interesting takeaway. And looking at the series stats, of course, the Subliners had ASIM going positive with a 1.01, Diamond with a 0.92, and then Mac followed him up to 0.88. And Hydra was absolutely frying. This one was plus 36 with a 1.54. Good God. Looking at the Thieves stats, John had a 0.99, best performance that he's had thus far. Draza had a 0.91, Ken had a 0.74, so an off day for him, and Slasher had a 1.1. Very, very close stat-wise, but it's clear that Slasher was just there to keep the guys in check and to make sure that they won the maps they should and that they walked away with the series victory. Looking at our next matchup, you guys can see it's on my face, so you know what happened. Yeah, so FaZe took on the Surge in what I expected to be a pretty quick 3-0 for FaZe, but this wasn't the FaZe that we're used to, and I'm getting a little bit scared going into champs. So looking at the map 1, hardpoint on Moscow, Surge won this 250 to 174. This is a map that FaZe has been very strong on all year long. This has been one of their better hardpoint maps, so that was a bit surprising. Then they rebounded on the Express S&D. They, of course, won it 6-2. And then the game 3 Garrison Control, as we all expect, the best control team in the game won that map. It was 3-1 in FaZe's favor. And then on the Raid Hardpoint, a map that I was expecting FaZe to close things out on, the Surge just really made a resurgence, no pun intended, and they won that 250 to 232 behind really strong performances from Classic and, of course, Persini. They just played really well in tandem, even though the KDs don't show it for Persini, obviously. They played well together, and that was the difference. They put a lot of pressure on Simp and Abizi, and the subs just came into play. And then the game 5, standoff S&D, Nicky D went crazy. This guy had a 2 KD. He went 12 and 6. He's playing for his contract, man. The guy's playing for his career. This was the best series that Classic has had that I've seen in a long, long time. I don't remember him being this impactful really over the last few years. So hats off to him. He had a day. And then Cell had a 2.17 on the FaZe side, but wasn't enough. He got full streaks and everything, but wasn't enough to get past these guys. The Surge were just playing out of their minds, and more on that in a little bit. So looking at the series stats, Classic had a 1.14. He was a standout for the Seattle Surge. Octane had a 0.97, Gunless had a 0.95, Persini had a 0.9. RC's on the FaZe side had a 0.96. Abizi went even. Cell had a 1.13. He had a great series, and Simp had a 0.94. So FaZe, they put up a very even slaying effort, and the Surge were just frying. Like, they were playing on another level today. They almost beat Optic. So not really too many crazy takeaways there. But FaZe definitely have a lot to improve on. They got double bopped out this tournament, didn't win a single series. So I don't know what to expect. But going into champs, that's not a great way to kind of set yourself up as a number one seed. Now, looking at our next series, we of course had the Dallas Empire taking on the LA Thieves. You guys know I was expecting this to be a 3-1 in favor of the Empire. I figured whoever met them in this next matchup would be a loser, right? I feel like the Empire was stronger than the Subliners or the LA Thieves, and definitely stronger than them to a point where they would win pretty comfortably with at least one map cushion. Looking at the first map, that of course being Checkmate Hardpoint, the Thieves came out swinging. Obviously, they had some momentum coming over from the MYSL series, and they definitely rode that all the way to a victory here. Draws had a 1.43 and Slasher had a 1.59. Just had to talk about those because they were so notable. Looking at the map too, S&D Miami, this was a round 11 win for the Empire. They brought it back. They tied up the series 1-1. And Krim and Krim and Illy were playing very smart, and Shotzi had a few clutches that were very, very consequential. And then on the other side, Slasher had a 1.71, dropped 12 kills for the L. Very competitive S&D. The Gary Control was also very competitive. It was 3-2 in favor of the Empire. This is where they really took the series over and solidified their win, in my opinion. Illy had a 1.32 and Shotzi a 1.14. They were just having that duo. They're playing very smart, playing very well, and that's how they won the round 5. And then on the LA Thieves side, Kenny had a 1.26 and Slasher had a 1.12. So the Thieves, the subs had a tough time of it in a few of these maps, and that was really the problem that brought them down. Looking at the map for that being Moscow Hardpoint, this is where the Empire closed it out. And it was a pretty even effort across the board. Everybody had 0.9s, and then you had Krim popping off with the 1.33. So great showing for them. They won the series 3-1. And looking at the series stats, we of course see that Vivid had a 0.84, Krim had a 1.03, Illy had a 0.98, and Shotzi had a 1.04. So a very, very even effort across the board from all Empire players, and that's why they walked away with this series. It was a very good win for them, and this is how they got themselves to the winners semifinals, where they will face against Optic Chicago. Looking at the Thieves side, John had a 0.81, Draws had a 1.2, Slasher had a 1.27, and Ken had a 0.88. So if you get a little bit more production out of John and Ken, then they probably would have won the series, and they probably would have won it 3-1. They probably would have taken the control, and realistically, it could have been a 3-0 if they had taken the round 11 in the search and, chained that momentum. So looking at our next series, we of course had Optic taking on the Seattle Surge. I was not expecting Seattle to face off against Optic. So as you guys can see in the graphic, I got this one wrong. I said FaZe would win this 3-2, but Optic ended up winning it 3-2. So looking at, of course, the map 1, that being Moscow Hardpoint, it was 250 to 188 in favor of the Surge. Gunless went 24-12. He got full streaks in the first rotation, really the first hill. And then map 2, Raid S&D, Optic answered back with a big round 11 victory coming out of Scump. He was just frying this map. Gunless went 14-6, and Gunless had a series. Looking at the checkmate control, this was a 3-0 for Optic, and it was just domination from beginning to end. They clutched up in the right moments, and they played very, very smart. Then on the Raid Hardpoint, this being map 4, the Surge won this behind a very strong performance from their AR duo of Octane and Gunless. And then on the map 5, standoff S&D, of course, Scump was in his bag again. He had a 2 KD. Dashy had a 3.6, and he had 11 kills. So just great performance from Optic. And I think the Surge really just ran out of gas on map 5, and that's why they ended up losing. They've been frying all day, and this was really their 10th map. So I imagine they're probably pretty tired mentally from playing really 2 of the top 4 teams back-to-back, essentially, in the same day. So very typical performance from them. They had an incredible losers bracket run. They played 4 matches. I mean, that's a lot in this CDL era. So that was a great performance for the Surge. And going into next season, I would like to see them keep this core 3 and maybe replace Classic, if I'm being honest with you. I like Persini, Gunless, and Octane. I like their synergy. I like that core 3. And I think if they get a good sub like maybe Hook or a Yeez, well, Yeez signed to Florida, but an up and coming player or a young player who's got some experience like Hook. But enough of that aside, looking at the series stats, of course, Scump had a 1.17, Formal had a 0.97, Envoy had a 0.89, and Dashi had a 1.13. And then on the Surge side, Classic had a 0.72, Persini had a 0.79, Boundless had a 1.2, and Octane had a 1.25. So the AR duo of course, Gunless and Octane went crazy, and then the SMGs just couldn't keep up in the series, and that was the tail of it. And then looking at our last series of the day, Minnesota Rokkr came out hot with the 3-0. You guys know I was expecting Rokkr to realistically walk away with this one 3-1, just riding the momentum that they have. They are undeniable at this point. After they beat Dallas, I was 100% sold. I think they're winning this tournament still, unless Optic really kicks up. But yeah, I mean, Rokkr looking unbeatable right now. They've beaten our top three teams in order, right? They beat number one Atlanta FaZe first, then they beat number two Dallas Empire second, and now they've beaten number three Toronto Ultra with a 3-0 sweep. So these guys, they are clearly the real deal. And if they win this major, in my opinion, they are the clear cut number two in this league. I still think the FaZe is number one, just given their strength of schedule throughout the year and all of their accolades and accomplishments. And the fact that they're the only team to win more than one major. If Rokkr win, because Ultra obviously won the second major, and then that means Rokkr won the fifth. So it's 3-1 to 1. But I think they will be the second team going into champs, and I think if they can chain this and keep up this momentum of just this insane run that they're making, then they have a really good chance to win champs. But enough of that. Looking at the stats, of course, on map one, it was a 250 to 225 win for the Rokkr. They brought it back behind a very strong performance from Sandy. He went 35 and 25 with almost 6,000 damage. And they really kicked up on the second half of the game. Rokkr were kind of tucking in the bed, and then they made a massive comeback. Looking at the map two, that of course being Raid S and D, they won this behind a very strong performance from Major Maniac. They won it 6-4, and Major went 11 and 5. So great showing from Major and of course the Rokkr on map two. And then on Gary Control map three, let me put this in perspective for you guys. They won the round four with a 13-5 life count. I was mind blown. I watched it back twice because I didn't know how it happened, but Ultra didn't play trades at all. So it was just mind blowing to see. They just kept feeding Priest and Major kills, and I was like, how? What kind of breakdown is this? It was an Ultra breakdown. Trademark. So looking at the stats for the entire series, obviously the Rokkr were frying. Sandy had a 1.13, Major had a 1.23, Priest had a 0.73, his worst performance of the weekend thus far. And Attach was the KD leader with a 1.3. Young God Attach is back. Shout out AW. Shout out all my OGs who know about the Young God Attach meme when you think you won Champs MVP, but Clay actually does. So looking at the Toronto side, Insight, of course, had a 0.86, Vance had a 0.79, Kimmy had a 1.24, and Kleenex had a 0.85. So tomorrow I expect the Ultra to rebound, and I think that whoever they face, they will give a run for their money if they don't beat them. And yeah, so let me actually look at the schedule instead of like jumping ahead of myself. Tomorrow we'll be picking up with E Clasico. Of course, Dallas taking on Optic. And personally, I think Optic will walk away with this one. This might shock some of you guys, but I think with their difficulty of schedule at this major, they of course played Ultra, who are a really hard team to beat. Obviously, they played Rokkr, the tightest of all the three teams that have faced them. And realistically, if you're looking at Dallas, the only team that they played was Thieves, and Thieves, the only team that they played was New York Subliners, who had a really good run, don't get me wrong, but they went to a game 5 with LAG. So, and then a game 5 with Florida. So, I just don't know that Dallas has had a real challenge yet this major, and I think Optic will be their first challenge. But Optic, on the other hand, they beat a Seattle Surge team who was red hot. They just beat the best team in the game, and they were trying to make the run of all time, and they were playing insane COD, right? So I think with that in mind, I think Optic walk away with this tomorrow. I think they'll be better prepared for the series based on their difficulty of schedule this week and in stage 5 regular season matches. So I think it's a 3-2 for Optic. I'll say that right here. And I think that's where it stands. I just want to see them get revenge. I want to see a checkmate game 5. Oh, wait. That's not in the rotation anymore. I don't think it's in the rotation. I think it got taken out. Yeah, it got taken out for standoff. So standoff game 5, and I want Optic to win it there. Looking at our next match for today, we of course have the Toronto Ultra taking on the winner of the Optic versus Dallas series. And I think that regardless of whoever makes it through, I think with the momentum that they have beating the other, that being Optic or Dallas, I just think they're a better matchup for Toronto than we might assume. And I think that they will win given the fact that they had to go all the way through the losers bracket, whereas Toronto was just waiting for one matchup against Minnesota where they got 3-0 bopped. So based on the momentum, I don't see Toronto Ultra winning this series, and I think it'll be a 3-2 for whoever makes it to them. So that would set up our grand finals where the Minnesota Rokkr take on the winner of Optic versus Dallas, or the winner of Toronto versus the winner of Optic Dallas. And regardless of who makes it through, I think the Rokkr, I just think they win it this weekend. I mean, they already got to grand finals. I don't see them losing the grand finals after getting there and playing this well this weekend, barring a massive collapse or just an insane performance from whoever makes this run through the losers bracket. I think Rokkr take it, and I think it'll probably be a 5-3 or a 5-4. I'll say a 5-4. I think it goes last map just so we get something to sweat over. And I hope Optic makes it through. If they can, I'll be really happy. This would definitely make me, as an Optic fan, super happy. But I know the likelihood is that they will lose to the Empire, and Empire will likely lose to Toronto unless they pull off another reverse sweep and make another run. But enough rambling. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching this far. I appreciate everybody who's been supporting the content lately. I've been staying up till like on the godly hours of the morning, 3, 4 in the morning to get these videos out to you guys. So it really means the world to me that you guys appreciate it. If you watch this far, comment Prasini is a genie. And I'll catch you guys on the next video. Hope you have a great morning, noon, or night, wherever you may be on this beautiful planet. And I hope you guys enjoy all the COD today. The major has been nothing short of incredible. And I think the last day will not disappoint. So I'll catch you guys on the next video. Hope you have a lot of fun watching the matches. Peace.